imagine that watching that game film makes you feel a little bit better than after watching UNC.
You know, just from the standpoint of you're happy for the players because, you know, they accepted the challenge. They prepared the right way, and they had success, and they had the mindset that we challenged them to have coming out the gate. But I tell you what, the last two games for us is good from the standpoint of they get to understand who they are. You know, you go up to North Carolina, you don't play your best, but you find a way to win. Good teams find a way to win. You know, so they understand, you know, what our program's been built on. You know, winning those close games, and then they have a chance to come back and be challenged. Understand that, you know, our program is built on humility. You know, never really getting too high, too low. Understanding what it takes to be successful, and then you come out, you put in the work, you have the right mindset, and you come out versus a very good opponent. You get off to a fast start and able to take control of the game. So it's a good 2 weeks or a good 3 weeks for us since North Carolina, but good to watch that film.
You opened up the playbook a little bit on Saturday. How much was Travis chomping at the bit for that halfback pass?
You know, I tell you what, and I told him, I said, look, we're running it regardless of the half. So you better learn how to throw going to your left, being right-handed. But I tell you what, you know, he had 2 weeks to kind of recenter himself. You know, didn't have his best game up in North Carolina from a pass protection standpoint. Really put some stuff on film that you know he has to improve upon. And so it's good to see him come out with the right mindset. And just overall, we wanted to be aggressive. You know, let these guys know again who we are, what's made us successful, attacking. And when we get off to a fast start, you know, it puts a lot of pressure on the opposing team. It allows our defense to kind of pin their ears back. And so it was good for those guys to come out and execute those first couple of plays and go right down the field and score on that first drive.
Still satisfied how with the progression of Lynn J as he continues to get more and more work under his belt?
You know, it's good. You know, he's in there on the 10th play of the game. You know, that's something that you guys have been around me that know I kind of want these guys to almost be perfect, which is unfair at times. And I got to challenge myself to put him in there when the game's on the line, early in the game, get him going, and he's responding. And so I'm definitely pleased with his progress. He's really starting to, you know, lock in on the protections, you know, so you feel comfortable, and especially with these odd defenses that we're playing and the multiple blitzes that they bring, feel a lot more comfortable. And you know, we did a good job. You know, found a couple creases, but still had some opportunity. I thought there were a couple of runs where he could have had better pad level, a little bit more violence, and we just got done going through a couple of those. And so I'm encouraged with where he is.
Dabo said one of the main things is trying to develop the depth, and that's probably the one area. I guess more so specifically, he was talking about defense, but how do you feel like where the offense is right now?
You know, same thing with us. You know, the big challenge coming out of half was the first unit was going to get another opportunity because I wanted to see how they were going to come out and how they were going to see if they had that eye of the tiger. If they could you know figure out how to finish off an opponent. We come right out and we score. So then we started putting some guys in and didn't quite have the consistency in execution. We were able to move the ball, score a couple points in the second half, but we want those guys to understand that the standard doesn't change, and we're going to need those guys. So I think he may have been referring to the defense, but we still got some guys on offense that we got to continue to develop to give us the depth we're going to need later in the season.
You had another couple of false starts on Saturday. Simpson's third in the last two games.
Yeah.
You didn't really have that problem much last year. What do you attribute that to?
You know, a couple of things. Definitely up in North Carolina, the noise was an issue, and it's just with they were moving their front a lot. You know, showing some motion before the snap that we really just got to lock in on. And then, you know, what happened to us the other day? It looks like they were making a couple of move calls, which we knew they were going to try and do, and we tried to simulate some of that in practice. And the biggest thing is just challenge those guys to, yes, we want you to be aggressive, we want you to play on the edge, but at the same time, you got to be disciplined. So, you know, we'll just get back to the basics, continue to challenge those guys, and obviously it's an issue, but we're just going to keep challenging those guys to get better.
T had to leave fairly early. Were you satisfied with Ngata coming in and taking his place?
You know, Ngata did a good job, definitely, and that's something that we've been saying from the beginning of camp is we feel like, you know, Joe's getting ready to come on, and has got some, you know, special talent, and it's good for him to get an opportunity to play. You know, made a big time play on the crossing route. Still, you know, good for him to learn too. You're playing against two elite corners, and now you get an opportunity to work on some of your releases in the game when it really counts. You know, not in practice. So it was good for him to get some work. So definitely pleased with what he was able to do when T went out.
Tony, Louisville had a couple wins. He gave up 59 points the other night. Are there some things you guys can exploit?
You know, watching Louisville, it's tough to get a beat on them. You know, it's still early in the week. It looks like they want to do one thing starting the season, and now they're kind of settling in. They do some, they do some things different from a coverage standpoint than what we've seen the last couple of weeks. So really going to have to challenge our guys to be locked in. And, the good thing is there's some similarity in the front. So the last 3 weeks we played a similar front, but they do some different things on the back end. Biggest thing for us is we're going to have to just communicate. Obviously, they're going to be excited to play. I'm sure they're going to have some wrinkles, and for us, they've given up some runs, so some rushing yards in some games. They've given up some passing yards, and so the biggest thing for us is if we can get off to a fast start and be efficient, and then just kind of get a feel for what they're going to do. They play some trap technique there to the field, play some cover 2. A little bit more cover 2 than what we've seen, so that's probably going to put us in a situation where we got to be efficient running the football until we can make them fit that extra defender so we can exploit them in the pass game.
Not just as far as X's and O's, but what do you see from them different this year? I guess they really struggled last year, but seem to be turning things around.
Last year I think that at that point in the season they kind of knew something was going on with the coaching staff, and so there just wasn't a lot of fight and effort in them. And this year they're playing hard. I mean, they're probably not the biggest guys. It's a little bit of a contrast, similar structure, but they're going to play their technique different than what we saw last week because they're not quite as big as the guys as Florida State. But that gives them an opportunity to be, to move a little bit more, be more active in the run game. So we're going to have to do a good job of catching movement. But they're just playing hard. It looks like they believe in the scheme. You can tell. I think the video came out of Coach Ivey, and so those guys are going to play with some fire and some tenacity, and that's what you're seeing. They're playing hard. They're flying to the football. I was still making a couple mistakes that you can tell with the new unit playing together, and each week when you game plan, you're going to have different wrinkles. But overall, they're playing a lot harder.
Have you ever thought about coming out of pregame warmups with a bloody face, like he did?
No, but I know Coach Ivey now. From when he was down there in Naples, when I recruited that area, he's a very intense guy. So I got a tremendous amount of respect for him, and obviously, each coaching staff is going to have their own way of motivating their guys, and that's something that Coach Sweeney, challenges us with too, is make sure we bring the energy. And so he's doing what he feels like he needs to do to get his guys fired up to play, and I applaud that. But no, I don't think that. Plus, I got glasses on too. I got to make sure that I don't break my glasses. I need those to see from the box.
Tony, halfway through the season, how do you feel about where Chez and Mikey are from a developmental standpoint?
I think Chez is running the ball hard. You can see that. He still has to get a feel for the scheme sometimes and the patience associated with it. But each week I see them just doing things that's giving me confidence in terms of and again. You play North Carolina, you play Florida State, you're playing that odd structure. They're bringing boundary pressures with the corner, they're bringing boundary pressures with the safety, they're bringing field pressures with the safety, and that falls on the back's plate. So I'm starting to see that things are slowing down a little bit for them. And I would say for freshmen, they're probably ahead, of where a lot of freshmen are. But they still got 2 really good guys in front of them and you're still trying to get Linjay reps. So it's tough to get those guys in there. But I was glad that they were able to get in there. Both had like 10 or 12 plays apiece, so that was good.
Coach, Luke Price has been the lead blocker for Trevor his last couple rush TDs. With Galloway out this season and trying to develop a couple young tight ends, how important has he been making the transition from linebacker to tight end?
I think Luke, that's what he brings. He brings that mentality, man. He's just a trash man. I mean, he's going to do all the dirty work. Good to see him make that catch. He made a tough catch and be rewarded for that. But that's just what he brings to us, and kind of like what Garrett filled that role. And so that we have the ability, the guys that can be a true H-back, play in space, create matchups in the passing game. And then you still need that thumper as well. And he's improving in the passing game to be able to play in all situations. So that's been big. And then obviously Davis is doing a good job too. And I felt like J.C. Chalk made a good step in the last game. Just really trying to be a lot more physical at the point of attack. And I thought that the offensive line, if you go and watch the game, that's what I was most pleased with. We knew that we're playing 306, 340, 311. He said, man, these guys are going to be tough to move. And it seems like just about every play, they recreated a line of scrimmage with the help of the tight ends as well. So pleased with what Luke brings. And I think what that's done is that's made Davis, understand the physicality that you got to play with. Same thing with JC. So he's making those guys better.
Tony, you talked about kind of challenging the guys to remember why Clemson's been successful, play aggressive. Why do you think they needed a reminder? Is it because maybe there are so many guys who've never lost a game in college that you have to stay on top of that?
Well, you got a lot of guys too that that just got here.
Yeah.
You know, and you look at, and I think I mentioned it last time we talked about Trevor. You know, since Trevor was a starter, I think he's won every game by like 14 points. Every game that he's finished, he's won by 14 points. So he hadn't had much adversity other than a little bit of adversity at Syracuse when he got hurt last year. So a lot of guys just haven't been in that situation. And then too, you win 20 games in a row. You know, sometimes the older guys, they just, hey, this is what we do. Well, this is what we do, but it's got to be mental Monday. It can't just be, well, this is what we do on Monday. And then this is mental Monday. This is to no good Tuesday, and really just re-emphasizing those core values and that, and then the one-game season mentality too, that windshield mentality. So it's always good for all of us, you know, even adults as coaches, to make sure that we're reminded of having that intense focus every single day. And one of the hardest things to do in life for any of us is to handle success. You know, I think when you're chasing success, you know, that's the easy part, you know, because you're driven and you're focused and your mind is always set on it. But when you've had success, sometimes it's easy to just, okay, it's just going to happen. And that's why it's a good reminder for them to be up in North Carolina and then be reminded that, hey, we got what it takes to win. A lot of teams will probably lose in that situation, but we found a way to win. And then now, this is really what we are. You know, if we respect the process and handle it the right way, this is what we're capable of.
I mean, you've been part of this run for quite a while now. Do you ever catch yourself thinking, hey, it's just going to happen? It's going to happen because we've made it happen so many other times.
You know, as a coach, it's hard. It's hard because I mean we live and die on it, and we understand we're dealing with young people too, and so that puts a tremendous amount of pressure on ourselves to make sure that we're practicing what we preach. You know what I'm saying? But there's any human being is going to have a moment or two, you know what I'm saying, where they might not be the sharpest, but it's always good to have that reminder.
I think Jalen Lay hadn't played the last couple of games, but he was a guy y'all were excited about out of fall camp. How's he doing progressing, or are y'all looking at redshirt?
You know, he's a guy that's progressing, and I think that Davis was out early in camp, and then I think just Davis has played more of the position. When you look at Jalen has played mostly wide out. Even though he's a tight end, he's played a lot of wide out. And so as we're getting, you know, deeper into the season and we're seeing the multiple fronts, you know, he's doing a good job, but still that's just a lot. That's the hardest position that we have. And then Davis has just shown the ability, man, to pick up on things fast. And I think it's just a product of how he was developed in high school. You're talking about two different programs. You're talking about Calhoun, and then you're talking about Jalen's program. So I think it's just a function of, you know, Davis came back and has really jumped in there, kind of understands things a little bit more, picks up on concepts better, and then Jalen is a guy that's getting better every single week. And it's just hard to play, especially if we're not playing a lot of 12 personnel, we're not playing a lot of 13 personnel. It's hard to rep, you know, 4 guys in the course of the game.
You said the other night that you wanted to get Travis some no-doubt touches, design runs, but you're an RPO team, so as an offensive play caller, how do you kind of mold those two together where you make sure he's getting his touches but still keep your game plan?
Correct. I think that I got to do a good job in certain situations of taking the RPO off and then just calling it where it's a design run, regardless of what the defense is, just to force Travis. Because if you give Travis the ball, he's going to break a tackle or two. And so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then taking a little bit of stress off of Trevor too, that he doesn't have to make every situation right. And then you saw early in the first 9, we jumped into some 12 personnel stuff with some flash motion stuff that forced the ball to him. So just incorporating that and not just making it a situation where you're putting all the onus on the RPO to bail you out. Sometimes you just got to force the issue, and that's what we did. Especially down there, once we got inside the red zone too, took some of the RPOs. There were a couple where we left the RPO on, but then there were some where we just said, hey, take the RPO off, let's hand this thing to Travis, and let's go.
I hope it's not a secret, but how much of the offense would you say in a given game is an RPO call versus design run, design pass?
You know, I'd say probably at least 60% of it's going to be RPO based. Off what the defense gives you. And then definitely in short yardage, you take a lot of the RPOs off of it, but sometimes you leave it on, just depending upon how their tendencies are. But I'd say that's probably a fair assessment. But sometimes you just need to just take it off. Even when you call the RPO looking concept, take the RPO off and let Travis get the ball.
Has Trevor done a good job of reading that this year?
Oh, yeah.
And making the correct read?
Oh yeah, and that's what happens too, and that's what's tough, you know, for the offensive line and for Travis, is because some of the best block plays, well, that apex player was too tight to the box that we needed to throw, you know, the RPO, and so you don't get the handoff. And then sometimes you just got to say, you know what, let's force the handoff, and that's where I got to grow too, you know, and continue to get better. That's something I'm challenging myself is being able to to get away from making everything perfect and giving all the answers, and then give them enough answers. But at sometimes, man, let's just go force the issue, because I think we're capable of doing that.
How tricky of a, I guess, balance is that, going from, like, if you do this, then we'll do that, to on the other side, we're just going to force feed. We're going to let our better players just give them the ball.
I think that there might be a little bit more predictability when you're gonna definitely hand the ball off, just because of some of the sets that you get in to force the issue where you take some of the RPOs out. But that is a challenge. But this week was good for myself and good for us offensively, to say, hey, this is probably the next step in our offense, is to be able to jump from RPO to design run to play action, to do some different things. So it was good.
What's the difference so far this year as far as maybe not being efficient on third down, and y'all have been in years past? Is there something missing, or maybe you get yourself too behind to change the move?
I think that early on we were probably in some third and long situations. We were actually better in short yardage up to this point, prior to this game, than we were last year at this point. But we were better in some of the medium and long yardages last year, and I think we have gotten behind some of the behind the chain some. And then this past game, I think the efficiency was a lot of it was in the second half, at times, and then we took some chances down there where we knew it was 2-down situations, where we knew we were going for it on 4th down, or we had 2 downs to try and get it. That's going to change your thought process a little bit, and I wouldn't say make you more conservative, but you're probably going to run the ball, thinking that you got 2 downs to get it, where you may have thrown the ball in that situation. So I think it's just a combination of a couple of things. But that is something that we're stressing with our guys, is we can't just be an explosive team. We got to make sure that we can be efficient. And we made some strides. I know the numbers didn't quite show it this past week, but we had made a couple strides over the last couple weeks.
Is Maury Rogers one of the guys?
You're still missing that Hunter Renfrow kind of guy, or you're still trying to find that guy that can make those plays on third down that he was known for?
There might be some of that, but it's tough. It's tough to say, because Jay Ross has been isolated in the slot, and we've had some opportunities we just didn't execute. So I think that we got to have a larger sample size before we say that's the issue. I think, as you said, we've been in some long yardage situations where Renfrow was really, really good in those medium yardage range, but where we've been pretty decent there. We just haven't been as good in the 7 to 10 range.
With the success Amari's had the last couple of games, is he one of those guys that could probably fit that mold?
He body type wise and skill set wise, he's very, very similar to Renfrow from the short area quickness. So definitely going forward, trying to get him involved in some third down situations. And then again, each team is going to have different tendencies. So I think each week, your thought process is going to change based off of what you're seeing on film.
Look at J.C. Chalk, and it looks like you guys are trying to use him a little bit more in those situations. Is that something going forward?
Oh yeah, and again, if you go back, before Hunter Renfrow was your Jordan Leggett's and your Dwayne Allen. That was the guy that created that big time matchup advantage in the slot to the boundary. And then obviously when Renfrow came around, you started using Renfrow there. But again, JC, as I said, JC's making strides both in the pass game and in the run game.
The halfback pass and reverse, I think Tyson came in and did some wildcat stuff with Jason. Does this maybe open up the playbook some just the second half of the year, kind of emphasis?
No doubt. As you're finishing up the primetime phase, getting in the championship phase, this is the time when you got to have all your bullets in your gun. And so now it's just a time of making sure we got all our bullets, and then also showing our players the mindset of, man, let's go be aggressive, let's attack, and let's go be who we are and what our DNA is all about.
Did you get a chance to see Hunter before the game?
I did briefly in the tunnel. Hugged his neck and asked his wife, was he being a good husband? She said yes, and then I went on the field. So that was about the extent of our conversation. Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you, Coach.